I want to thank all of the executive committee and everybody in Washtenaw County that has not only worked hard this last week, but has worked hard since for the last 2 years. And this is not an effort that's done by one person. It's an effort that when everybody decides that they want to work together and they want to make a difference, that you can. So I just want to say thank you to everybody from the bottom of my heart, and to say we got to keep going. And we did this in the age of COVID. We did this in a time when people were locked in their houses, that the organized campaigns weren't during, I mean, not the organized, we were an organized campaign, but the Biden campaign, one campaign weren't doing doors. We did doors. We did the voter guide. You all did the voter guide. I just did what you told me to do. But, well, it's true, Chris. But there were so many things that everybody in Washtenaw did that you should be proud of, those increase in numbers. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and what an honor it is to represent Washtenaw County. So, and I want to say that. And I'm also now I'm going to make a few observations. I was pretty frustrated that the 12th district got very little attention by the governor. The governor loves the 12th district and came in. I wish the candidates had come here, but they didn't. Bernie came after. Bernie promised me he would come. He didn't. We weren't able to do any of that. None of this was normal in this election. We're used to big events where we all come together and people feel that passion and that energy, and there are thousands of us saying we've got to make a difference and making a difference. And we couldn't have those kinds of events. So the closest we got was Bernie in a parking lot with chairs 12 feet apart. And he was as nervous. I mean, he wanted to come, but he was also nervous about COVID like many others, and understood the importance of leadership. And that's something we all realize as we're out and about, that we got to remind people masks make a difference. We have to lead. And it's something that we didn't have in the White House. But I want to make some comments now about where we are and where we go from here. I've heard, I am not shocked that the numbers were as tight as they were. Some of you know, said in the last couple of weeks, I thought that the race was tightening, and I was right. And I always told you all that I thought the Senate race was far tighter than people thought that it was. I think we're lucky in the 12th to have Washtenaw, which has got such great diversity, and the University of Michigan, and everybody works their tails off and we produce votes. But we're a diverse district. We have Dearborn. We have the headquarters of Ford Motor Company and the largest population of Arab Americans, with a strong Jewish community in Ann Arbor. And we have the downrivers, which are just hardworking men and women, many of them who belong to a union. They work in plants, and they're reflective of many people across the country. And I think that keeps the 12th district more real than, well, some people would now say, yeah, she represents Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor is as real as any other place. But I think the 12th district keeps its feet on the ground and thinks about issues very reflectively and very pensively, and tries to be at the forefront of change as well. A lot of people right now are stunned at the number of votes that Donald Trump got. And I've heard people, and yes, people from the 12th district, be very judgmental about how people could vote for Trump. And I've heard some words that I get, but I also think we got to be really careful to not be judgmental. I think the Democratic Party has got to, and I think the Republican Party's got so many problems. It's got a woman's problem. I believe that women were part of what elected Joe Biden. And I mean Black women and white women. We have to be so careful these days to make sure that we're a phrase we mean to include. Not everybody knows that you mean to include everybody. Detroit's, I need numbers, and we're still waiting on numbers. I've heard Detroit's vote was up. I've heard Detroit's vote was 1,000 down. I don't know what Detroit's numbers were, but Oakland County's vote clearly increased with women. Women clearly turned out in Washtenaw. And I will not forget, right after Donald Trump's, I was about to say impeachment, but it was actually his inaugural, when I flew home and I had done the Million Women's March in Washington and met with the Michigan women, and had raced back here, and there were 20,000 people in the diag that afternoon. And the woman lawyer that stopped me and said, I'm 60 years old. I've never been involved in politics before. And she didn't vote for Hillary. She didn't vote. And I'll never make that mistake again. And there were, the same day, I posted this for some of you. We were downriver getting ready to launch a canvas. And one of the now famous Trump caravans came in with the pickup trucks and the flags flying and proud to be an American, blaring. But there were 3 women there in their 70s. One was celebrating their 74th birthday. They'd never been involved in politics before. And they were, for those of you who did the voter guide, they were delivering the voter guide. They'd never done. They were in their 70s and they were going door to door to deliver the voter's guide. And they too had never been involved in politics again. They don't like being called suburban women. They were very clear. They wish the pollster would lose that label, but they care. But that doesn't mean that every man here didn't make a difference too. There were women that didn't like Hillary Clinton 4 years ago that did turn out this time. But I think we all have to take a deep breath, and we have to look at why people are. I know that there are people that don't like Donald Trump's vitriolicness, don't like his bullying, don't like his language, don't like anything about the way he acts, but still voted for him because they think Democrats look down their nose at union workers. We need to really look at ourselves and how are we going to win? I do think that we need to be worried about the divide in this country. Another thing that this election shows is we are divided. I think Joe Biden is the right person at the right time. I think he will heal the soul of this nation. I think he will work together to bring us together. And there are a lot of things that we all need. We need to solve COVID. Ignoring it the way we have is not making it get better. We're all about to find ourselves inside again after we celebrate a beautiful weekend. The numbers this week have been staggering. And Republicans have to be at that table. We need a COVID plan. We need to fix the damn roads. But not only do we need to fix the damn roads, which Republicans and Democrats want, potholes are not Democrat or Republican, blue or red, but we need broadband. Washtenaw County needs an improvement in broadband as much as rural counties and urban cities do across this country. We got to work together for that. We got to find a way, healthcare. Too many people are paying too much for prescriptions, period. Republicans and Democrats agree on that. We got to stop fighting. We got to get people COVID relief. We've got to stop fighting on that. And to the young people, and to the, I made the mistake of once saying young people, it's everybody. Everybody from John Dingell, 92, to the young children being born care about the environment. The Green New Deal is right in its goals. We've got to eliminate carbon. Who can't look at the hurricanes and the wildfires and not say they're real? But we got to, and I've already started this. I'm talking to the Sunrise kids, but I met yesterday with Gina McCarthy and the environmentalists. I've got the UAW. We're coming to the table. We got to come up with solutions. Then once we all come, we'll talk to the autos and the other people and build those coalitions. But now's the time to really decide what our priorities are and we can throw our hands in the air. We can call people bigots. We can address and have uncomfortable conversations, which we need to have about systematic racism. So I'm just going to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart, but say we're at a time, we got to get some things done. We can't afford to be so bitterly divided anymore. There are real problems that are crying for solutions. And I'll tell you something, you go back to the Civil Rights Bill in the early 60s, which was the first major movement on racism. It was Southern Republican judges that actually did what had to happen in many places. So instead of demonizing each other, yes, we got another elections down the road and we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and keep working. But in the meantime, let's look at ourselves and say, why did we lose some of those voters? And let's do some things that bring them back home. So thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Debbie. Appreciate that. Wise words indeed. Larry Kestenbaum, you are on deck, or you are ready to go. We have asked Larry today, he's our county clerk, of course, and we've asked him to just give us a bit of an overview of how things went in Washtenaw County and sort of his perspective on how the election went. So Larry, take it away.
We had an amazing election. It was the turnout was unprecedented. The number of absentee ballots was wildly unprecedented. It was beyond anything we had been seen before in Michigan. And it was done. I was basically reassuring people before the election. I said, Washtenaw County will be all counted on election night, and it was. At 3:30 in the morning, we had all of the votes counted and posted online, and that Joe Biden had won Washtenaw County by more than 100,000 votes, which is also amazing. And I for a moment I thought that we basically made the statewide difference. If it was less than 100,000 statewide, then it was basically Washtenaw County versus the rest of the state. But as it turns out, and fortunately, the statewide margin was bigger than just 100,000 votes. So Democrats won on a lot of township offices, including in places that Democrats had not won before. And there's the county board. We basically proved that 2018 was not a fluke. That all 9 county board districts are now continue to have Democrats representing them. And we have an outstanding county board. And the new people coming in are I think I have great hopes for them. Carolyn Sanders and Justin Hodge are the new commissioners from Pittsfield and Ypsilanti townships, respectively. And we had again in the county we had counting boards in all but 4 jurisdictions. We had 1,500 poll workers countywide working on all the precincts and all the counting boards. It was after the election, we have the Board of Canvassers, just 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans who meet to basically examine all the precincts and certify the election, and that's a very involved process. Oftentimes, finding out all the mistakes that were made and dealing with essentially making sure that if there's a recount, that all the precincts are going to be recountable. And and that we could take up to 14 days for the canvass, but the canvass was done. I mean, it's done already, and the number of problems that were found were relatively minimal. I mean, compared to what it sometimes has been. So my sincere, humble thanks to everyone. I'm seeing a question on the chat of what would make a precinct unrecountable. Michigan has this peculiar folkway, which I thought, after the presidential recount in 2016, people would say, you don't need this. 49 other states get by without the concept of a precinct being unrecountable. But in Michigan, we have various arbitrary rules that, for example, if the number of ballots and the number of in the poll book and so forth, if all the the count, all these different counts of how many people voted, if those things don't match, you're not allowed to recount the precinct. So the original election night count stands, and you can't go and look at the ballots. And that's basically the precincts that most need to be looked at, you're not allowed to look at in a recount. And that's a rule which is tremendously outmoded, and it was seen as really politically untouchable for a long time. But after and former election director Chris Thomas once said, one of these days we're going to have a recount in Michigan that has national attention, and the national media is going to come up against the concept of unrecountability, and it's going to be ugly. Because again, this unrecountability thing is a Michigan-specific folkway, okay? And it's based on the idea that if there's some difference, then maybe somebody tampered with the ballot since the election or something like that. But anyway, and so we had the presidential recount in 2016, and half of Detroit was unrecountable because the Wayne County Board of Canvassers didn't have time to go through and fix everything in Detroit. And examine all the precincts and remedy the mistakes that were made. And there may have been some issues of poll worker training and things like that. This time, there was a tremendous amount of attention to helping. Detroit has always struggled with getting elections done, and the state was involved in providing people and resources and training and so forth to help Detroit get the election done. It's a gigantic task. You think about how big Detroit is, how many poll workers they have, how many precincts they have, how many absentee ballots they have. They have, I'm sorry, I still call it Cobo Hall. They have all the counting boards, and there was an attempt to have the Brooks Brothers riot again of pounding on the window to get them to stop counting. But it's a tremendous challenge to run elections in a place like Detroit. For all those reasons, but it was done, and I think it's a great accomplishment. But I thought in the wake of the 2016 recount that we were actually, as a state, going to be able to move forward and abolish unrecountability. And all that the state legislature did, the Republican-controlled state legislature, was to raise the fee on recounts so that Jill Stein wouldn't be able to do that again. And so now the shoe is on the other foot. I see Republicans saying, we need a hand recount of the whole state. Go ahead, but it's going to cost you, because they raised the recount fee to $250 a precinct. A few years ago, it was $10 a precinct. Anyway, that's I'm grateful for everyone who assisted. I'm grateful for the result that we got, and I don't think there's anything to complain about. I think that we did fantastically.
Larry, thank you very much, and just on behalf of the rest of the county, thank you for your hard work, and please give your team our gratitude, because we are very thankful that it went so well here, and that we can dominate things, and it's legit, and we don't have to have anybody questioning it.
And in the midst of this, also, I should say I was reelected to a 5th term, and I do appreciate everyone's support. Thank you.